Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing something that I and many other people have wondered ever since the Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z, something that I've actually discussed in depth a number of times with other creators and other friends of mine on YouTube. And that question is, how strong was Gohan after he did the Z-Sword training on the Supreme Kai realm after the advent and the birth of Majin Buu back into the world? Well, I'm going to be getting into that, going in depth into the manga and presenting evidence that supports just how powerful Gohan might have been before that ultimate unlocking, and talking about just who he compares to in terms of his powers. So let's get into that right now. So of course, after Majin Buu was released from his shell, what ended up happening was that he beat down Supreme Kai to the point of near death, and also did the same thing with Gohan, blasting him and making it to where he was on the verge of death until Kibito brought he and Shin to that Kaioshin realm that you could see right here, which exists outside of the normal sphere of the universe and afterlife. And when they were there, he awoken Gohan so that he could activate and go into Supreme Kai's plan for what he wanted to do with him, which was, as we could see right here, I want you to kill Buu with the Zeta Sword, or Z Sword that we have in the English dub. You, I believe, will be able to wield it. And of course, Gohan's confused, Kibito is shocked. Why would a mortal be able to use the sword? How many lords of lords, how many gods have tried and failed to wield it? So that right there already shows you just how powerful Gohan is comparative to Supreme Kai and the other Kais, in that when they bring him to the sword and he's able to unleash it to pull it from its stone, like the Arthurian legend, he is, most likely more powerful than all of the Supreme Kais who attempted it at that point, which, you might be able to make an argument that maybe Gohan was just worthy enough, kind of like a Mjolnir from Thor type of situation, or the Sword in the Stone that this is inspired by, but they make it seem like it's a matter of power. So what happens here? Interestingly, Gohan actually references the Arthurian legend, where Supreme Kai tells him to pull it out. In all recorded knowledge, no one has been able to, and Gohan even says, just pull it out. Where have I heard this before? So I'm assuming Gohan isn't referring to certain classes he might have attended in school, but he's probably referring to the Arthurian legend. At this point, what happens? Well, Gohan goes to remove the sword, unsheath it, and he says, what happens when I pull it out? They say you will gain tremendous power, perhaps even enough to surpass Buu. At this point, he goes to do this. Doesn't mean it's really sharp, I better be careful. Kibito doesn't think he'll be able to pull it out. Just give it a tug, Gohan. Wow, there are a lot of references to things like that in this arc, aren't there? Here it goes. Gohan tries as hard as he can to pull it out, but he can't do it in his base form. That's why he goes into Super Saiyan, maybe even Super Saiyan 2, but, it's confusing with Gohan's aura in this part of the arc regardless. And as we see, Gohan goes to pull that sword out again. Kibito keeps saying, oh, you can't do it. But then we slowly see it pulling right out of that stone to Kibito's shock. And boom, Gohan rips it out up into the air. At this point, they have the sword, and what happens here? Gohan is asked, what does he think of the legendary sword? It's pretty heavy. I don't see how it's so special. Will it really help me to beat Buu? And they say it's the greatest sword in the sanctuary. Of course, it won't help if you can't even wield it properly. You won't be able to fight with it until you feel it as an extension of yourself. So, we see just how Kibito compares to Gohan in terms of pure physical strength, where he gets handed this and then he drops it immediately, which does seem to conflict a little bit with what happened with, Gohan thinking he needed to be a Super Saiyan in order to fight and stand a chance against Kibito, that apparently Kibito's base power, or his power, isn't even compared to Gohan's, but again, it could be a worthiness situation. Nonetheless, what ends up happening? Well, while Gohan is training with the Z-Sword on the Supreme Kai planet, Majin Buu starts to go toward Capsule Corp, which leads to Goku going and fighting him, transforming into his different states, including Super Saiyan 3. And this is relevant, which I'll get into momentarily. He goes on to fight Buu, and Gohan actually senses this power all the way in the Supreme Kai realm, which means that the passive energy that Goku is giving off is actually radiating so far, so fast, and so powerfully, it actually extends beyond the physical confines of the universe to the sphere that the Kaioshin realm is orbiting around the universe in. So that cheats, Dads. No way, it's not the same. Yes, it is, Son Goku. Supreme Kai says his energy is stupendous, but Sam, I can't believe it from here. Dad, what's going on? So Goku goes on to fight Buu. He does really well against him, as we could see. And later on in the story, Goku states that he was able to defeat Fat Buu during the course of this fight. Now, later on, after this fight, Goku's time is expended, and so as a result, after he helps to teach Goten Trunks how to use the fusion dance, he returns to the afterlife with fortune teller Baba, and during that point, he senses Gohan is actually up here training as opposed to being dead. And so he goes to teleport to him, sees Gohan is in mid-training, and what happens here? Here we go. Here is a little estimate that we get in terms of not only how long Gohan's been training for, which is less than 24 hours at this point with the Z sword, but also we see just how powerful Goku is with being able to also hold and wield this sword. He says, "Oh, let me see that sword." "Oh, sure. Man, you're right. It's so heavy." And then Goku's struggling. You see the sweat and the exertion coming, even though he's in his dead spiritual body. He's still struggling to wield this sword, which Gohan, as we just saw before, is not having anywhere near as much difficulty at this point after less than a day of doing so. So that goes to compare Goku and Gohan's base format here, that even though you could just make the argument perhaps that Gohan's base form is just more attuned to using this sword, Goku seems to be struggling more than Gohan here. And I'll get more into these power estimates very shortly. And he says, "Can I stay here until he fights Buu?" And, that's at this point he asks him for something to eat. And then Goku even tells Gohan something that we never see on screen in the anime or in the manga, that he's going to show Gohan how to use Super Saiyan 3 in that level of power after they eat. Something that, like I said, we don't see, but presumably happens, which lends to them being able to get more power estimates. Now, sometime later, while all this is happening, we go back to seeing Gohan again training with the Z-Sword. He's mastered it. He could throw it up into the air, catch it with one hand, cut it around super fast. And look what Goku says. "Yeah, you've gotten so much better in one day. Wonderful. I bet that sword is super sharp. Let's try it out." And this is where we get to the moments of Gohan cutting it and him and his father playing catch for the first time. Something that Gohan fails at later because, he drops the Patara earring. But either way, in the anime, we actually see him cut through this stone. In the manga, they just immediately cut to, ironically enough, Supreme Kai saying, "Actually, let's try something harder." And then he creates what he says is Klangite, or in the anime and, the Japanese is Kachin, which is the hardest metal in the universe. Must be pretty dense too, pretty powerful, which means that you can see just how strong Goku is by being able to hold this thing up. So at this point he goes to throw the block right at Gohan, channeling Zamasu in the Super manga. And Gohan goes to cut it, and it breaks, and everyone's freaking out. Goku's just like, huh? Whereas they're like, oh my gosh. Well, I would say, oh my god, but the thing is that, what god are they going to be saying that about? Oh my me, they would be saying in this case. Oops, it broke. The Zeta sword, the most powerful sword ever. Now look what you did. You had to try it on that metal, didn't you, Shin, you moron? But it's a legendary sword. The wielder should have limitless power. And here's our next estimate about Gohan's strength here, which is, I guess it's just overrated. But at least they got a good workout. It was really heavy. Maybe that's the point. And then Shin says, yes, if you gain so much strength, it'll be even greater once you turn Super Saiyan. That must be it. That's the power. Please let me be right, which you're not. But I don't know, says Goku, if he's better than Buu. And then, of course, at that point, we have the Elder Supreme Kai, the Rao Kaioshin, showing up and saying that the reason why it's in there and the reason it'll give you the ultimate power is because he was sealed away in that sword. And once he was freed, he would be able to bring out someone's full power beyond their limits, as you can see right here, so that he could basically give somebody, Guru's unlocking on steroids. But again, the important part here is what Goku says, which is, but I don't know if he's better than Buu. Everyone here is recognizing, acknowledging that Gohan is definitely a lot more powerful after just this day and a half of him training with the Z-Sword, depending upon if it's been a day since Goku showed up on the planet, where he's saying how much Gohan has improved in one day, as we could see here. Maybe he means a day in total, but does Goku know exactly how long Gohan's been training? Who knows? So the point of the matter is that they state that Gohan is definitely stronger. He got a really good workout, and he was effortlessly throwing around the Z-Sword up in the air and catching it with one hand, while Goku even was struggling a little bit to swing this around. Goku, again, in his dead spiritual body, when he was more powerful than Gohan as a Super Saiyan 2 in his base and so on. And to give an estimate about Gohan's power, we were told earlier on in the arc, right before Gohan fights Deborah, that he's been slacking off because of peace, and that Vegeta and Goku are stronger than him. However, they never know what may happen when he gets mad. Additionally, Gohan goes on to fight against a cell-level opponent, presumably Super Perfect Cell, which I discussed in a number of videos you could see on my channel, which is Deborah. And he's basically stalemating with Deborah here, where neither one of them is able to ultimately defeat the other one through the course of this combat. And then later on, when Gohan goes and attacks Buu's shell, we see that Deborah actually jumps out of the way of the attack and doesn't even attempt to stop Gohan from doing what he's doing. So really, at that point, it's possible that Gohan was still stronger than Deborah when he was going all out at his full power, but that was still weaker than Goku and Vegeta as their own Super Saiyan 2s in that level of power. So the fact that Gohan now is being compared to Goku in terms of his power, he seems to be doing even better than Goku with the Z-Sword, and at this point they're saying that not only is he a lot stronger, but that, Goku is comparing him to Buu, and he's saying, I don't know if he's better than Buu, as opposed to saying, well, Buu is vastly more powerful than him, or he's barely stronger than he was when he fought against Deborah. No, he's being compared to Buu, who was only able to be defeated by Super Saiyan 3 Goku at this point in the story. Not Vegeta, not Goku and him teaming up together as Super Saiyan 2's Super Saiyan 3. So the fact of the matter that they're comparing him to Buu seems to imply that Gohan here, after the Z-Sword training, when he goes full power as a Super Saiyan 2, is actually stronger than Goku and Vegeta as Super Saiyan 2's. It might actually be somewhere in between Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Not being as strong as Super Saiyan 3 Goku, not being as strong as Gotenks as a Super Saiyan 3 especially, and not being as strong as Super Buu or Fat Buu, but being more powerful than the Super Saiyan 2 Goku that we see right here, going up against Fat Buu, and just somewhere in the area being weaker than both of these two fighters when they're fighting here. So I think that goes to show you that Gohan, when he was a Super Saiyan 2 after this training, was probably at the very least comparable to Goku and Vegeta, but it was probably even likely more powerful than either of them, or maybe even both of them combined. Not able necessarily to defeat Buu on his own, but still being more powerful than either of them. And who knows, maybe if all three of them teamed up on Fat Buu, they would have had a better chance than just Goku and Vegeta doing so, because of how powerful all three of them were. Despite the fact that Buu had super hacks regeneration, and let's be honest, why would a sword ever be able to stop that guy anyway, unless somehow it negated his magic? But then again, all the legends were wrong, and the reason why it was such a powerful weapon is just because it had the Elder Supreme Kai within it. So how strong was Gohan after the Z-Sword training? Well, it seems that he was a lot more powerful than he was before, more powerful likely than he was as a Super Saiyan 2 when he fought against Super Perfect Cell, more powerful than Goku and Vegeta as Super Saiyan 2s perhaps, but just not as powerful as Super Saiyan 3 Goku or Boo as Fat Boo. Of course, he would go on to be more powerful than either of them, or all of them combined, when he was Ultimate Gohan after the old Kai unleashed his power. But it's not like Gohan just went from being weaker than he was when he was a kid to being stronger than Super Boo and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. No, rather it was the fact that he got some training done, improved his body, and then got his power unleashed on top of it. So I guess it makes you wonder just how powerful Ultimate Gohan really would have been if they had tried to unleash his power immediately rather than doing the Z-Sword training. Maybe he wouldn't have been as powerful. Maybe he wouldn't have been able to handle his power as well as he did. But maybe that's a topic for another day. Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.